Season 2, Episode 4. We welcome you again to our weekly vodcast. Haley Wilson, Coach Robert Villafranca. I'm Bobby Mendez. We thank you for joining us. Also, a big thank you to Martinez and Associates, Rufio, Texas Revolution Youth Football and Cheer, Proper Realty with Vanessa G. Medina, Brooks, Rockin' G Grill, Model Mortgage Plus, Superior Tax Service, live from the South Side, J-Rod Video Productions, and Harlandale ISD. Again, welcome. We're just off a really big victory for our RC Audio Sports. I say that for us because we start volleyball again. We're going to talk volleyball, of course, and we'll talk some football. But let's start off with what's most recent, Coach and Haley. Last night, 28-5A, I say some of the best action in town was happening right on the south side. It was Harlandale versus South San. Harlandale did a great job. I know there was a game the week before, but that's really fresh in our mind. But let's actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and talk about Friday's game and lead up until South San. How about that? Just a little excited still off that high from yesterday. But welcome, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll kick us off for last Friday's game. So that would have been September 9th. We had some pretty, for across the board, some pretty big wins. Harlandale defeated Southside 3-1. Medina Valley defeated South San 3-1. And McCollum did a full sweep of Southwest Legacy 3-0. Only game going into 5 sets was the Southwest game versus Wynn, where Southwest took the game over Wynn 3-2. So some close action as we really start to get into the full swing of district play. But I mean, kind of back to what you had said, Bobby, we had the chance to cover a very exciting game last night where Harlandale came storming back, defeated South San 3-2 in front of their home crowd. And Coach, what an atmosphere was that?
Man, what an atmosphere. We were leading up. We on social media, we led up to that game, just reminding everybody that it had been 10 years since this rivalry since these two teams had faced each other as district opponents. They've faced each other in the last 10 years in tournaments and non-district play here and there. Not every year, but when you're in the same district, I mean, you're fighting for the same 4 spots to get to the playoffs. And we were telling people this was going to be big. It's South San and Harlandale always get after it in every sport, and it's a great matchup regardless of the sport, and it lived up to all the expectations. We hope you were watching. If you weren't, it's still there on our YouTube channel. Come by and spend some time. Enjoy. It's just great. It's great volleyball on both sides, and one of those games where you say just hate to see anybody lose. The teams just played so hard, but I mean, it was remarkable. What a way to start. South San had a 2-0 lead against Harlandale. And not only you see teams come back from 0-2 deficits, but I mean, it was match point. South San had match point, 24-22 in the third set, leading by 2, and they weren't able to seal the deal. Harlandale came back and scored 4 straight points and won that third set 26-24, and then won the next 2. And it was that spoiler alert, you know how it happened, but go back and watch the video. Great volleyball. And we're going to do that every Tuesday night. Next Tuesday night, we'll be at Medina Valley where McCollum will travel, and that's going to be a big game too. But Haley and Bob, man, what a way to start. And we try to warn you guys it was going to be a good one. And it's
if we knew it was going to be good, but we didn't know it was going to be this good.
Yeah, right.
Haley mentioned the atmosphere, what it was yesterday. And I've never gone to a basketball game in the Delta Arena in Utah back in the day when Carl Malone and John Stockton were there. But I always knew that anytime the Spurs went over and played in that arena, it was just chaotic and it was hard. And I can only imagine this is what it reminded me of. It was so loud. It was so crazy. The student section and parents and both sides, they were both having a healthy competition between the two sides cheering. So that's always great to see. And then, of course, the action on the court, as you described it, Coach. Harlandale down 0-2. I was looking at Isaiah. I'm like, he's doing the camera work. I'm like, I guess we'll be done in a little bit, So 3 games. It looked like there was going to be a sweep, but Harlandale put those brooms away real quick.
Yeah, they certainly did. And Bobby, bring up the crowd and the atmosphere. Kudos to the South San community. They have a long tradition, actually. They have a long tradition of coming out for their sports teams and sitting in student sections and being loud. And they were loud last night. And again, it's been a while since we've seen them in the district competition. It was great to be back, and it was great to be back in that atmosphere. I made note of that during our stream that this was the first time that I had been in that kind of atmosphere since before 2020, when we had to put a lot of things aside for a while, for the COVID pandemic and quarantine and all. But it just felt like it just felt like back to normal, and as close as I felt, to a back to normal sports event since before 2020.
Well, Haley, let's get into some of those specifics on that game. I know many things happened in there. Player of the game, some stats.
Absolutely. It was an unbelievable night for both teams, like Coach said, but typically, when we do our recaps and our players of the game, we highlight the team that ended up victorious. So just a couple of shout outs from the Harlandale side. Huge night from Chanasty. I know we talked about her last season. We talked about her on the Vodcast. This season, she had 29 digs. Kayla Reyes for the Indians, 55 assists. But our Rufio player of the game, it was unanimous. Coach and I even sang it out and sleep together on the stream, was Emily Perez from Harlandale. She had 30 kills. My pen ran out of ink because I couldn't really keep track of them all. But she had 30 kills, 15 digs, 2 aces. And it got to the point where the South San Bobcats were having to change their entire defensive scheme just to try to figure out how to shut her down. So just a really good effort across the board from the Indians. They never gave up throughout the entire game, and it paid off. They had a huge district win to move to 2-0, to notch another district win in their belt. Emily
Perez was gold last night, 30 kills, and she was just amazing. When you play Harlandale, I think that Chanasty has gotten a lot of attention, and you're probably preparing for the kill. She will usually come from the left front, but when you've got Chanasty in the left front and you've got Emily in the right front, that's just hard to set up a block. And one individual that didn't come up in stats in numbers necessarily was not the leader in any one of those stats, but Avery Green had some amazing digs. I mean, they were highlight reel kind of digs that just kept some rallies alive. And she was a star on the back row, and so kudos to Avery Green as well in that game. But it was just, again, it was. What a way to start. I'm looking forward to Tuesday nights like that all season long.
How about Savannah Garza cramping up, in between? That just goes to show you everybody left it out on the court. They gave every bit of effort for that victory. They came back and deserved that victory. So it was great total team effort. And I say that all in all because I'm a huge sports fan. Volleyball is not on the top of my list, as far as spectator sports for me. But, I definitely respect the game. And just to be able to cover that game, I'll consider that a treat for a very long time.
Well, Bobby, RC Audio Sports has had a couple of instant classics, haven't we? So we're trying to bring you over. I know it's soccer and then volleyball for you, but we're going to try to get volleyball over soccer. Okay.
Oh, well, this is definitely a great one.
And then when soccer comes around, we'll turn the tables again.
Yeah, and as in fact, before the broadcast, I was kind of mentioning to Haley about that one game. It was McCullum and
McCallum. Austin McCallum.
Yeah, that was a great game as well. So, but any other thoughts, you guys, on last night's game? But it was just That's
No,
really
Well, go ahead, Haley.
I was just gonna say, before we move on to kind of the next week or Friday's matches, I cover some of the other scores for some of the other games that happened on Tuesday. Southwest swept Medina Valley, still undefeated in district play. It was their first time defeating Medina Valley since I want to say 2018. So big win there from Southwest. Southside swept Southwest Legacy. And then McCullum defeated Wynn 3-1 and moved to 2-0 in district play. So again, we're really excited. Like Coach has said a couple of times, we're going to be bringing some of the action. Next week we'll be headed over to Medina Valley, so I'm excited to keep bringing games to you all. But Coach, before we move on to the next sport, what do we have coming up on Friday for volleyball?
Haley, we've got some really important games on Friday, but I do want to make note, I'm not backing away from my preseason projection that South San is going to be up in the top 4. They've lost their first 2 games. They lost to Medina Valley on Friday, and then Harlandale here on Tuesday. And those are two teams that have made the playoffs in this configuration pretty regularly. And those are 2 tough losses for South San, but they're don't underestimate them. Those 30 wins that they got in non-district were against some quality teams, and they've played 2 quality teams here in 28-5A. So they're not going anyway. They're not going anywhere. You watch them bounce back from that. And the last night Southwest sweeping Medina Valley, that was big. We had some questions about Southwest, another 30-win team in non-district play, and they struggled a little bit against Wynn when they traveled to Eagle Pass on Friday, and it was kind of like, well, was that a mirage, or were those 30 wins for real? And if you had any doubts about it, I think Tuesday cleared up some of those doubts. Sweeping Medina Valley doesn't happen often, and that was a little bit of a statement. I think that was a little bit of a statement game for us. Southwest. There's 3 undefeated teams left in 28-5A. It's Harlandale, Southwest, and McCullum. And you asked about the games coming up on Friday. Help me out with that, Haley. Is that here? Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. The game's coming up on Friday. Harlandale is going to travel to Medina Valley. You talk about a matchup. There you go. For me, it's the emotions of Medina Valley coming off of a tough loss. They're gonna bear down, and Harlandale coming off a very emotional win. Can they get that behind them and look forward to Medina Valley, because Medina Valley doesn't want to take 2 losses in a row, and they're at home, so that's a tough one. Southside at Wynn. Wynn actually had a 2-1 lead against Southwest in the first game in the district game, and they had a good non-district record too. Had a good non-district season, so that's going to be interesting. That's one of those games. You hear me say it a lot. I don't think there's room for both of these teams in the top 4. I can't see Southside and Wynn making the top 4. I can see one of them. And so when they play, we got bubble teams like this. These games they're as must win as you can get. Maybe not must win mathematically, but you've got to beat the other bubble teams if you want to sneak in. And McCullum at Southwest, there you go. There's the first Queen of the Hill battle there, 2-0 versus 2-0. That's going to be a good one at Southwest. And then South San will have to try to bounce back against Southwest Legacy on Friday. But we'll be keep track of the scores, and we'll report on those. But our volleyball streams will be on Tuesday nights.
And Coach, next Tuesday is McCullum at Medina Valley.
Medina Valley, and so that McCullum is playing Southwest Friday. They could come out of there undefeated. But whether or not they do, it's going to be, again, 2 quality teams. McCullum is 2-0 now. We talked about them graduating 5 all-district players, and Coach Vieira, trying to fill those spots and all that. And 2-0. I mean, they're above 500 for the first time in a month, and it looks like she's got them. It looks like she's got them peaking at just the time that they need to be.
All right. Well, that wraps up our volleyball section of our coverage. We just wrapped up week 2 of high school football in our district that we covered. Sam Houston beat Jefferson 40-21. Alamo Heights on top of Highlands 49-23. McCollum got a big win over Edison, 28-7. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. 29-14, Burbank over Brackenridge. And then again, a score from a game that we covered, and that's what we'll dig into right here. Harlandale 43, Lanier 0. What a game. We were gracious enough to be able to be at that game over at San Antonio ISD Sports Complex. A little bit of a late start, or a start and then a long lightning delay, but we were able to get through that one and had to cut our stream into 3 parts, but we got through it. Haley, what's your reaction on the long overtime production that we put in on Friday?
Yeah, we up in the booth, we got to chop it up about all sorts of things. But no, and when the game actually had a chance to get rolling, I mean, it was a really great game. You know, I don't think that the score necessarily represents how competitive the game was, you know. But Harlandale played amazing. I know, Bobby, we had talked about it several times on the broadcast. It was the Jacob Saucedo show. I mean, he had his fingerprints on every single touchdown that was scored in the entire game, passed for 311 yards, threw for 3 touchdowns, carried in 3 touchdowns by himself on his own, and threw went 17 for 22. So he had an absolutely amazing game. And then obviously he was our offensive player of the game. And then our defensive player of the game was Aiden Sosa, who, coach, I mean, you were there too. He played lights out on defense.
He usually lines up at the left defensive end for the Harlandale Indians defense. And boy, the first 3 weeks of this, the first 2 weeks of the district season, district opponents have had a hard time blocking him, and he's just disrupting so much of the passing game. They may not, the rush may not manifest itself in an actual tackle for a loss or a sack, but I mean, he is disrupting that passing game so much, and it really forced the Vokes to be somewhat one-dimensional, and the Harlandale defense was ready for that too. So Lanier really struggled to move the ball against the Indians, and the Indians defense gave the Harlandale offense some short fields. And with Jacob Saucedo having a night like he was, 3 rushing touchdowns, 3 passing touchdowns, and his ability to extend plays, I think that to neutralize that pass attack, you're just going to have to keep Jacob from extending the play, because once he does, he's got great vision. He's got an arm to match it, and he's just tough to stop. And Lanier had a hard time stopping him last Friday night.
And Coach, in talking about Jacob Salcedo doing such a great job, we talked about the progression of him as quarterback. We saw that he was able to distribute the ball to many different receivers, where I remember in the first game he felt real comfortable to one receiver. In the second game he was a little bit more comfortable getting him to maybe a couple different receivers. But by this past week, he distributed, if I'm not mistaken, to every single receiver that was out there. I think 4 of the 5 receivers or so even caught a touchdown. So he just did a really good job of being patient, showing a whole bunch of maturity, and finding different receivers.
He's he's early. He's a junior, but he's early in his career as a starter. He's only 3 games into that. And we've seen him be able to break the pocket and extend. I'm going to look to see if how he responds to a defense that contains him, and is he able to is he able to sit in a collapsing pocket and still deliver those passes? And that's I've got my own little personal checklist of things that I look for with these young quarterbacks, and I'm interested in when that game comes where he's contained. Does he have the same vision in the pocket that he does when he breaks the pocket? But man, what a job he's done in his early career as a starter.
It's great. It's great to see them doing well. Let's talk a little bit about McCollum. over Edison 28-7. McCollum getting their first win in district play. It's a much needed victory. We talked about in the very last podcast how it's hard to call early season game a must win, but for a program like McCollum, they've got a lot of young athletes graduating. I believe, if I remember correctly, 22 starters.
Seniors last year, right?
Seniors, excuse me. 22 seniors last year. A whole new group of younger leaders, and we've seen them a couple of times. We've seen that they can move the football. They just were having some issues when we've seen them disciplined, right? Not moving, not jumping off sides, holding penalties. But this time they come up and get a 28-7 win against the Edison Golden Bears.
Yeah, and really solid win. I know in some of our early season coverage, Coach Klon, he had said in a couple of interviews, like, we want to have a winning record. We want to be a winning team, and we want to, be one of the better teams in the district so we can make playoffs. And, this is a first step to doing this. I know we talked about sophomore quarterback Justin Rodriguez, him kind of getting more settled in, not feeling too much pressure. In the games that we've covered, Coach Klon hasn't over relied on him too much yet. He's kind of spread out the offense on the ground and in the air. And so hopefully this will be, the first win of a good series of wins for McCollum so that they can get that momentum going and kind of like the goal that Coach Klon has set, have a winning record and be one of the top teams in district this year.
I know that a lot of people were watching this game. Harlandale struggled against Edison, and we talked about how Harlandale was kind of fortunate to ride that happy bus home. So for McCollum to really dominate that game, it made it made some people pay attention. And the transitive property doesn't always work. Sometimes a team matches up better against a team than it does against another. But it certainly was interesting to me that McCollum had a game like it did against Edison when Edison gave Harlandale all that it could handle the week before. So a big game. Also, want to mention Burbank at the 3-0 for the season, 2-0 in district play. They beat Brackenridge 29-14, and they've got a sophomore quarterback themselves. Kevin Hernandez is doing just an excellent job. So looks like this district is shaping up as a district of young quarterbacks. The San Antonio Express News had Burbank in the sixth spot this week in the rankings. So that was pretty big. And another thing that stood out to me last Friday was the fact that Highlands stayed in the game with Alamo Heights, and I think most observers see Alamo Heights as the favorite, and they have dominated when they played other teams in the district so far in this early season. But Highlands played them tough. I think I'm looking for Highlands to also be a contender for one of those 4 spots.
Yeah, I see this to be a super competitive district, and like you, Coach, yeah, you look at Alamo Heights coming into this district, and typically, Alamo Heights is in
it's a powerhouse in the area. I mean, there's no denying it, and we're going to line, coaches and teams are going to line up against them and give them their best shot. You're not going to concede it, but I mean, as we're fans of the game, we're observers. You just can't deny that Alamo Heights has just been a powerhouse in this area for many years.
In their entire area, whatever district they've been placed in, they've always held their own. Mm-hmm. Whether they were in the North District or traveling, they've just always had a really good football team. So that is, we're looking at this, and yes, Alamo Heights is the measuring stick in which these teams are placed on. But I agree with you. This is going to be a competitive district. I'm just really looking forward to seeing all these teams down the line, and happy that we get the luxury of being able to be at these games and bring that to you guys.
Well, this week, speaking of that, Bob, this week McCollum travels to Alamo Heights, and I think that there's a another streaming organization that's going to cover that game, and we'll give you the news on that. But we're going to stream from Harlandale Memorial Stadium. The Sam Houston Hurricanes will come visit the Harlandale Indians and test the 2-0 record of the Indians. So we'll be there Friday night. We'll be streaming RC Audio Sports YouTube. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it. I'm telling you, do it. We're approaching 400 subscribers, and those subscribers are never missing any of our streams. So look for a 7 o'clock. 6:45 will start. 7. The kickoff is scheduled this.
Yeah, I think that social media presence with us is very important, just simply because it helps us too. You get to tell us what you think and what you feel that we might be missing, and we're open. You are welcome to send us messages if you have some information that you think it's worthy of sharing, and we would love to share any positive news that's happening within our community. Just feel free to send us a message. Again, of course, we're RC Audio Sports, and same name across all of our platforms: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and of course YouTube. So we really appreciate that.
And what a great job. Haley does a lot of the social media posting while we're in game. And so we're streaming the game, and Haley's keeping everybody up and reminding everybody of the link. And also, social media, make sure all of them. It's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Come find us at the platform that you are most comfortable with. But Haley, just kudos to you last night and every night that we've streamed to keep the social media presence active. I went back and was reading some of your tweets and enjoyed them in retrospect.
Sorry for any spelling errors. I try to quadruple read.
Hey, we're live. We're live and we're going. We're hard.
But when there's a game as exciting as last night, I'm trying to watch and tweet. I can't guarantee, an extra exclamation point or anything like that. But no, like Bobby and Coach Villafranca said, for us, it's exciting when we get to spread all the great sports and athletes we get to cover. So if you got anything, send it over to us.
Haley's in the middle of a text, man. Her thumbs are going away.
Yeah.
And I look over to her and I say, Haley, what'd you think of that? So, I mean, you talk about multitasking. Hey, there's going to be an extra letter in there sometime. We're not judging, just know it's going, man. It's going out. So
all she can say is, well, it sounded good, Coach. You said it well.
Yeah. Sounded great.
Well, I'll give you guys an opportunity to wrap this up here and tell us about some of the accolades. I know we've kind of touched on some of them already, but just to kind of bring us home, Haley, if you got anything.
Yeah, absolutely. So this week we're highlighting a couple of different game balls and accolades. We've kind of mentioned them throughout the broadcast or throughout the vodcast, if you will. But there was some different San Antonio Express News volleyball game balls for Southwest's Briaza Osborne and then Harlandale's Kayla Reyes. So congrats to Briaza and Kayla. There was also a San Antonio Express News football game ball for, not a surprise here for Jacob Saucedo for his, 6 touchdown, essentially performance that we had the pleasure of covering last week. And Coach just mentioned it a couple of minutes ago, but Burbank football holds on and keeps that 6th ranking in the Express News ranking. So lots of very talented athletes and teams that we have the opportunity to cover every week.
Very well-deserved recognitions. And, we pre-record this podcast and then it usually gets published on Friday morning. We're doing this Wednesday. Most of the time we do it Thursday, but why are we doing this Wednesday tonight again? Why are we doing it?
Someone's playing some inspired volleyball.
Is sand volleyball game or something, huh?
Yeah, it's Haley's schedule's too busy. That's
Haley's got a sand volleyball game, and I was thinking maybe we need to stream one of those. What do you think? No,
or our subscribers would dip to 0 if we ended up making things in volleyball.
No, we know how busy Haley is. She shared her calendar with us today, so
that's another thing. This is bones to pick with Haley. She's got friends that get married during football season?
Football.
Who has friends that get married during football season? Come on.
It's honestly because my two friends that are getting married, one of them, all of my friend's fiance played baseball in college at Rice.
That explains it.
All of his
Baseball
friends,
players.
all of his minor league friends, October is the only month. And then my other friend's fiance plays collegiate basketball. And that was their
There you go.
one off week. Yep. So it's literally conflicting sports that are doing
If it's not sand volleyball, it's fall weddings. Come on.
It's good.
It's all
right.
good. It's good. Good luck tonight. Good luck Wednesday night. And maybe we'll report. Bring us back a report from next week's podcast.
My stats.
We'll ask Rufio and Desi if they want to sponsor something.
Give us a sponsor, Texas Revolution.
There you go. Well, all right, guys. We thank you for joining us. And again, we thank all of our sponsors. We'll be on the air Friday from Harlandale Memorial Stadium, where the Harlandale Indians will take on the Sam Houston Hurricanes. Have a good night or good afternoon. Take care.
Or good morning. We'll see you guys.
All right, bye-bye.